Hey everybody, it's Briar Harvey. Welcome to another episode of Systems Are Messy, and I am here with the beautiful Becca Ribbing. Becca, tell us about yourself.
Oh, well, hi. Thanks for having me on. Let's see. I am about to come out with a new book, or my first book, which is super exciting. It's called The Clarity Journal.
You've been writing that for a
And,
very long time. We are very proud of you for finally getting this one out there.
the first one, I'm hoping, always takes significantly longer than any subsequent book I ever write. There is a huge learning curve. And it's so funny. I have so many writers in my life, but I feel like people don't necessarily give great advice. So some people do. I will say my aunt who finally stole it and fixed it and did all the editing or most of the editing, she's amazing. But everybody else beforehand is going in circles, and it really needed a professional editor, and it got it, and it only took me a year longer than I meant it to.
I have to say, you're on track. If you'd gone with a big five publisher, you still wouldn't be published.
No, that's true. And also, I mean, something I've really learned is what people usually do. So I'm also a coach. When you ask me to introduce yourself, I focus on helping people gain clarity, figure out what they want to do with their lives. And I'm also really good at helping people pivot into it. So helping them set themselves up for success, whether it's a job change or starting a new business. So, because usually it goes 50-50 in my mind. People, when they come to me and they're like, I want to figure out what I want to do with my life, usually there's 2 or 3 businesses in the back of their head.
I think everybody has at least one small business in the back of their head.
I think so too. And it's so funny because when I start out my coaching sessions, the first coaching session, I'm like, okay, so I see your resume and this is great, but I need to know from the very beginning, is in the back of your head, you want to open a Bikram yoga studio or a coffee shop or an art gallery? Because
we need to know those things now.
We need to know those things now. It will save us so much time if you don't bring it up in session 5. So the book, I think one thing that I am extremely aware of, and so I try not to beat myself up, although everyone beats themselves up, is most people write the book, write the first draft, or write 3/4 of it, and never actually get through the whole process. So
Okay.
Even if it was 10 years late, just in case there's anyone on here that it's 10 years late, get the book out. You can get the book out.
Yes, we all can get the book out. I am personally stuck in the right around 2/3. It's the suck right now, and I will pull it up every couple of days and go, all right, just write a couple hundred words. That's all you have to do to make forward progress. Just a couple hundred words.
What sometimes also really helps is if you switch to an entirely new section.
Yes.
Because I have found that the sections that I struggled with the most have gotten deleted. I struggled with them because I was blocked. Maybe I do have some really good things to say about it, but I couldn't find my voice for it, and it just didn't flow right. So my big advice now is if you're stuck on a section of a book, screw it.
Move on and
move on.
Later.
Come back later, because literally, I've got 5 major, I don't know, paragraphs, sections of chapters that I struggled with so much, and both editors were like, yeah, pull it, it's clunky. I'm like,
great, thanks. So you have a book, you have coaching clients. I know you have small, tiny humans.
I do have small, tiny humans.
So you have a lot of things on your plate.
I have more things than I can really handle on my plate, yes.
So how do you keep track of it all?
It's really funny, and you'll probably be like, no. But before kids, I didn't have to write anything down. I'd have my daily to-do list just because I like checking off, but I really didn't I never had to I used my calendar, but I didn't have to, you know, like I would know that I had the appointment 3 weeks on Tuesday at 10:45. I totally remember it. And I added the first kid and I could still pretty much handle it. And I can't decide whether that's a function of because he was small and so he didn't have his own schedule yet. But adding one kid, I could still almost handle not working with paper or a list or online systems. I added in that second kid and oh my gosh, my brain imploded, and my brain imploded for years, and
Years.
like literally years. Because you want to know something really funny, um I've started doing the bullet journaling. I've only recently started doing the bullet journaling because Naomi Dunford on one of her classes was talking about, and Naomi is very upfront and forward about having ADHD, and I don't think I have ADHD. I think I just have children. but but what did she say? She said something to the effect of, it's like I can download my entire brain and get things off my plate and out of like, and stop constantly having to rehash it. And that's what was happening with my system of all being in my head, is that I just constantly remind myself, oh, I have to do that. I have to do that. I have to do that. Like, and it was this constant like background chatter. So I got like fancy pants, and I did some pretty, can you see it? Adventure awaits. It's gonna be backwards, but I like used like stickers. One of my friends was getting rid of all of her um bullet journal stickers, and so I went a little crazy with the stickers. That's not normally my speed because I would have never bought them in the first place, but being handed like $200 for bullet
And
journal
planner stickers, lest
and
anyone be confused by this, are hella monies, guys.
they are. When I was looking, I was like, oh my god, this little packet's like $12. And washi tape. Is that how you say that?
I think it's washi.
Washi tape. Thank you. Yeah. And washi tape. She just handed me all this stuff, and I was like, okay, because of course she does. She still bullet journals, but she doesn't use any of the stickers. And quite frankly, I can already tell if you look at like the first like 30 pages of my notebook. Like I'm like, oh, ooh, I'm pretty, and now I'm like, yeah.
And now I'm like scratching shit through.
Exactly.
It's fine. I don't care. I just want it written down and out of my head.
Yeah, but I will tell you, like, if you haven't read the bullet journal book, it was really good. I think talking about things we don't actually complete. I think I only read 2/3 of it, but
That, by the way, is writer Carol, and we'll link that one in the show notes because it is absolutely worth a read.
It is totally worth a read. And I kind of bought it kicking and screaming, but after Naomi Dunford started raving about it, I was like, okay, that's what I need.
I know. We all do what Naomi tells us to do.
We all do what Naomi tells us to. So,
well, I guess Chris now.
Well, and I guess Chris now. But so I have the bullet journal, and I think the thing I really love about it, I don't know how many people you've had on raving about the bullet journal, but the thing I bought it right before a big trip to California, and I loved being able to have all the multiple lists going. And I don't know why I didn't think about that, because when I did to-do lists, it was always in a notebook. So I don't know why I didn't think about having all the multiple lists going, and then like having a table of contents.
Table of contents and threading are life-changing things that once you learn them and how to manage paper in that way, it's really a fundamental shift in how you think about planning.
Right. Well, and honestly, kind of the cool thing about it is, so I kind of hid the ball. I did try doing online like planning. Let's see, what have I used? I've used Trello. I've used Workflowy, which probably actually worked the best for me because you can do multiple lists and still have it all visible in front. But the thing is, I'd have to go through and cull every couple months. It's like if I didn't do something in the last 3 months, it needs to just go away. Obviously, it's not that important to me. And it gets depressing really quick to look at all the things. So having the online system gosh, what would be really cool if you could have an online system that automatically archives things that you haven't touched in 3 weeks, and like have an archive folder, like, hey, you should probably look
No,
at
we
this
already
stuff.
know this is maybe later someday,
Right. If
right?
it could just automatically do that for you, that would actually have made the online system work.
And that is another thing about bullet journaling, is that you go through every day. Is this worth, or every spread. I know
Right.
a lot of people who don't transfer every single day. I
I know.
certainly don't. But every spread I'll go through and look at this stuff that's not crossed off. Like, is this worth writing again? Is it worth my old arthritic hands
Exactly.
writing
Well,
those words?
and honestly, it's also like it's off the page. Like if it's not a page, so I do, instead of actually a table of contents with numbers, I don't know that you'll be able to see this. I have washi tape
Oh, yeah.
on the
Mhm.
major pages, and then I have a table of contents with colored washi tape
Oh,
telling me where it
perfect.
is. And so I really only flip through those pages. And so, it gives it a natural, like, letting things go without having to be quite as methodical about it as what did you say his name is? I'm so bad with names.
Writer Carol.
Ryder Carroll. I kept being wanting to say Carol Ryder. That's so funny. Um, yeah, so I love it. It works. Ask me again in a year and I'll probably be on something else. Maybe someone will have developed the thing that can like auto archive.
I think one of the most important lessons I have learned is that the system always changes, right? Like
Right,
what works today, right now, for me in this circumstance
right,
will not work for me later. And it's okay. It has to change. I was
right.
talking to my VA. She wants me to start posting Notion tutorials
Okay,
because, and
great.
I'm like, all right, well, I have this one that I recorded of my weekly setup around Thanksgiving, but it doesn't look anything like that now.
Right.
It's changed so much in
In 3 months.
4 months, three
Well,
months,
yeah.
that it's fundamentally a completely different setup. And she's like, no, that's good for continuity. And I'm like, oh, well, all right, fine. So how often do things slip through the cracks for you?
I guess that is a very much more psychological question, because it's like, is it slipping through the cracks because I shouldn't have been doing it in the first place?
So when we talk about your planning
Mm-hmm.
and your systems,
Right.
how are you reviewing?
Yeah, not. I do review. I've got in the front of the journal, I have a couple pages dedicated for each major project that I'm working on. And before that, those major lists were in Workflowy, which I don't know that you've ever even seen. It's basically just one page. It's a web page, so it can be as long or as short as you want, and you can move around, and it's basically bullet points, and you can do cross-offs.
Yeah, it goes in and out, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah, and you can zoom in, like you can, if you click on a heading, it'll bring it to a page where it's just the stuff on that heading. And I found that really easy for review because you're always looking at the whole document to go back and forth. I think what's going to be really interesting, I'm still on my first bullet journal, so that sort of review, I don't know, but on the other hand, the stuff that I wrote 5 years ago on Workflowy, the only thing that I still use and still actually just use in general for that is I do have a list of like potential blog posts and like ideas that I am very much aware that I am not going to do right now. They're for the future. So,
so tell me how Evernote factors in
oh,
all of this.
so Evernote, I actually only use Evernote for book notes.
Ah,
Like 9 months ago, a year ago, I'm not really sure how long ago. It's been a little while. I've been pretty diligent about it. I was running into the fact I'm reading all these books, and all of these books, mention other authors and have quotes. And I'm just like, how do they keep all this straight? Like, I can't keep this all straight in my head. I was like, oh, they're not keeping it straight. They must have some sort of system. And so I developed my Evernote system where basically just when I'm reading a book and I find something interesting, either for myself or professionally that I might want to refer back to, I usually read on a Kindle. So I take a screenshot and post it, or I take a photo. Actually, a lot of times I'll highlight it, take a photo. The only problem that I run into is I actually do a lot of audiobooks. And with audiobooks, I'm starting to get to the point, if ever money is no object, I'm going to start doing the buying the Kindle book and the audiobook where it'll sync. So the audiobooks are the weakest link for that because I tend to listen to a lot of audiobooks too. And sometimes if it's really good, I'll write it down, I'll jot it down and put it in and say like chapter 5 or whatever so I can refer back. But that's my weak link for Evernote, but it's nice. Like, it's fun to go through that and be like, oh, that's right, I read that book. That was a really good book. And a lot of times it's like, all right, I read 2/3 of that book. I never finished it, but that was a really good book.
So tell me then how you're surfacing information in Evernote to make this collection system worthwhile.
Um, I remember enough of what usually if I'm going to it, it's because I'm like, oh, I read that. And I'm using it fairly often because I read a lot of books. So it's how Evernote works is they have like the notebooks, and I just have a notebook for each book under a sub stack of books I've read. And so I honestly probably at this point also should do like cookbooks and like nonfiction, like self-helpy books, nonfiction, but it's kind of nice to just see the list of all the books all the time because it does just jog my memory. Like that when we were talking at the beginning about that, like when I didn't have all these lists, I was constantly reminding myself at times that were not opportune. And doesn't quite rise to that level, but it's just reminding me, oh, you've read that. It helps with recall. They did this really interesting study with kids. And at the end of the day, if you like talk to your kids about like, hey, what was your favorite memory of today? Or what was whatever, like, what did you enjoy most about today? Or rehash today for me. They will remember it much more strongly, like longer. So like after a trip to Disneyland, if you spent like 5 minutes in the car, hey, let's talk about it. What was your favorite ride? It was more talking about like big memories.
Right. We're embedding that memory into long term.
By talking about it a little bit after the fact, you're embedding that memory. And so I feel like the Evernote system for me actually helps embed the memory. Without being stressful, because it's not a to-do list. It's not a to-do. Like I don't, I'm trying to think of a book, like Atomic Habits. I have some quotes from Atomic Habits in it. It's like just even seeing Atomic Habits on the list, even if I'm not going in, does actually help embed the memory of, oh, that's where that information is.
Anything that you wish you did better when it comes to your planning system?
Oh, maybe I wish I'd started it 5 years ago when I had the second kid and I was losing my mind. So I guess if you haven't started yet, start now. I think, and I'm not sure that this is actually something that could be fixed, but it would be better if I could recognize in the moment that something is not going to actually happen.
So I know you've got the Clarity Journal coming out soon. Tell me when, where we can find it. Stuff.
Oh my gosh, now I feel like we need to knock on wood. I am in the final process of putting like the last drafts into pretty graphical format. So hopefully
Ooh,
we won't find too many typos. I am hoping that it will be out within the next 2 months. So it
fantastic.
is what, the middle of February? How is it the middle of February already? It's the
I
middle of
know, it
February.
is the middle of February.
So I'm really hoping by the middle of April. But if you had asked me in June, I would have said I hope it's 2 more months. And then it all blew up. It looks so much more professional and it reads so much more professional and it's been amazing. But it
I am
is,
super excited for it.
I am super excited too. It is, oh gosh, I should have had one of my proofing copies because it's got such a pretty cover now. It'll be on Amazon. It'll be on Amazon first. Everything else will take a little bit longer because, of course, everything else is a slightly different format. So we have to go back through and actually do a whole different, like, not a whole different graphical format, but margins need to be slightly, yeah, stuff like that. So everywhere else is going to be longer because unfortunately, this is my love-hate relationship with Amazon. They make it so much easier than anyone else does.
They really
And
do. Did you know
the,
they have their own presses now?
that's what I'm using. And it's so easy to use that it's kind of unbelievable. Like it's easy to use, it's cheap, and and Amazon, honestly, what is it, 70% of, like, is it 60% of books are
I don't
sold
know,
through
but
Amazon? It's higher
it's
than
high.
50%. So
It's high. It's where you have to be if you want to sell your book.
it is where you have to be if you want to sell your book. So I mean, I would really love it to be in my neighborhood indie store. So I want to get to that point, but it'll probably take a couple more months before I'm anywhere close to that.
Well, we will keep an eye out for it and we will drop your links down below. And do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Oh, yeah, one other thing. I also have a mini e-course called Get Unstuck,
Ooh,
and it actually talks about some of the stuff in this because it dovetails nicely into a lot of what we've talked about because it's about basically when you're stuck, being mindful about the process of moving through being stuck. So like if you're stuck on the chapter, if you're stuck on whatever it is that that's been on your list for 12 months and hasn't actually gotten done,
we've
it's
all got it.
it's like a little teeny mini course and a couple journaling pages. And the idea is to get more mindful about where you're stuck so that that mindfulness helps you move through it quicker and kind of either face the fear or face whatever it is that's keeping you
Awesome.
from moving forward. Yeah,
I love it. Well, we will link that one down below too.
cool.
All right, guys, thank you for being with us today. Y'all have a fantastic day. Bye.